Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome. My name is Rachel Sisko, and I am the Assistant Project Coordinator of the Rural Health Initiative. The mission of RHI is to engage partners to share ideas and expertise and to support communities in improving health while stimulating a higher level of wellness across the state. Thank you all for joining us today for our webinar, Montana Harvest of the Month Educator Focus, presented by Aubree Roth, Demetrius Fassas, Michelle Kaney, and Jamie Diehl. A few technical details before we get started. All lines have been set to mute. At the end of the presentation, we will have a question and answer session. At this time, I will unmute all lines. If you wish to mute your line during the Q&A, you can do so by selecting the microphone icon in the WebEx control panel on your screen. Pressing mute on your phone will work as well. You can also submit questions in the chat box on the right side of your screen during the duration of the presentation, and they will be addressed by the presenters during the Q&A session. If you type in the chat box, please make sure you are sending your comments to all participants, otherwise they will only be seen by me. Once the webinar is over, you will have the opportunity to provide valuable feedback for RHI through a brief survey. The survey will automatically pop up on your screen and it will take only a few minutes to complete. Thank you again for joining us today, and I will now roll the ball over to Aubree so she can begin the presentation.
Thank you, Rachel. All right, just get our slides up here and go ahead and get started. Okay. Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining the Montana Harvest of the Month webinar for teachers. This webinar will be recorded, and as Rachel said, you're in listen-only mode right now. The archived version and slides will be available on the Montana Harvest of the Month website, which will be listed on an upcoming slide. We will have an opportunity at the end to ask questions over the phone or in the chat box throughout. I am Aubree Roth, and I'll be your host today. And my slides are going crazy. I am the Montana Farm to School Coordinator for Montana Teen Nutrition Program. Montana Teen Nutrition Program is the training arm of the Office of Public Instruction's School Nutrition Programs and is housed at Montana State University. I am delighted to serve as the coordinator and the main contact of the Harvest of the Month program. Thank you, Rachel Sisko and the Montana Rural Health Initiative for hosting this webinar. I'm fortunate to be joined by 3 other presenters today to share their experience and ideas. Demetrius Fassas completed a Bachelor's of Science in Biology from Butler University and 2 years of Food Corps service, and now seeks to build momentum in the shift towards locally resilient food systems in his position with NCAT's Farm to Cafeteria Network, bringing people together around the importance and impact of really good food. Michelle Kaney teaches 5th grade science, reading, and writing in Big Fork, Montana. She loves Montana, the outdoors, and traveling. Michelle spent 15 years in Japan and enjoys adding tidbits of the Japanese culture into her classroom. Jamie Diehl is the Family and Consumer Sciences Educator for the Ennis School District. Due to their size of the K-12 district, she is able to teach culinary skills to each grade throughout the year. Ennis Schools has been a longtime supporter of Harvest of the Month, due in part to their participation with Food Corps. During this webinar, we'll give you a quick review of the Harvest of the Month basics, demonstrate how to access materials and resources, provide ideas from teachers in Ennis and Big Fork, give you tips on how to work with producers for your Harvest of the Month activities, and finally, give you information about upcoming opportunities as well as how to get registered if you're not. Before we get started, we'd like to know a little about you. On the right of your screen, you should see a poll question. Please select which category best reflects your role in relation to your participation today. All right, so it looks like we have somewhat of a mix, but kind of that community and other, as well as teachers and school food service. So welcome everyone, we're excited to have you all. The Montana Harvest of the Month program showcases Montana-grown foods in Montana schools and community with 2 main goals of exposing students to new healthy foods and to support Montana's farmers and ranchers. By showcasing a different food each month, it provides an easy-to-use framework to start or grow a farm-to-school program and provides ideas, resources, and materials. The program is a great way to provide nutrition education, promote healthy school meals, and grow a team for supporting wellness initiatives within the school and community. This is a collaborative statewide program and has been made possible by our awesome partners and funders. This map shows the towns in Montana that are home to a registered school or after-school program. We currently have over 130 sites registered for the program. Sites can register at no charge at any time this school year. We encourage you to reach out to other Harvest of the Month sites to discuss ideas or challenges, find or purchase from producers, or just give each other high fives. As I mentioned, this program is a perfect way to start or grow a farm-to-school program. Farm-to-school enriches the connection communities have with fresh, healthy food and local food producers by changing food purchasing and education practices at schools and preschools through the 3 core elements shown here. Procurement, local foods are purchased, promoted, and served in the cafeteria or as a snack or taste test. Education, students participate in education activities related to agriculture, food, health or nutrition, and school gardens. Students engage in hands-on learning through gardening. The definition of local in farm-to-school programs is decided by the school or community and could be defined in ways such as within a certain number of miles, within state lines, or a region. You choose what makes sense for your area. This slide shows some of the benefits that Harvest of the Month provides. The program grows collaborations within schools and after-school programs and connections with community organizations and individuals. Further, it increases opportunities for local producers and businesses, increasing economic strength in communities. Perhaps most important, it promotes student health and encourages adventurous eaters. This will be a very brief overview of Harvest of the Month. If you haven't already, please watch the Harvest of the Month intro webinar for more details about how the program works. This is a great webinar for your whole team to watch so they understand how to implement Harvest of the Month. Each month features a different Montana grown or raised food. The calendar makes it easier to find local foods and secure future orders, especially of those winter storage crops. While we prefer that you follow this calendar so that all programs are featuring the same items each month, you are welcome to change the order of the calendar to suit your needs. None of the materials are marked with the month. In the future, we plan to add new items and change the calendar so you can continue featuring new foods. Our team is here to help you. We will provide the following to registered sites at no charge. Mail or provide 1 packet for each site, provide electronic versions of the materials, provide guides and other helpful resources, conduct trainings and provide training materials, and be available to answer your questions. Just give us a shout. While we provide a framework and a plethora of materials to support your program, we do not provide the food you need for meals or snacks. Sites need to locate vendors that work for them. We also don't specify who you need to order from. Sites do that. Our team is happy to help connect Harvest of the Month sites with vendors and producers. We also do not provide a person to do the educational activities, as we hope it becomes part of your school or after-school program. All schools and programs participating in Harvest of the Month have 4 main responsibilities. First, you'll need to form a team, which you may have already done. Second, each site must showcase each Harvest of the Month item using Montana foods at least once during the month in a school meal or snack, an educational activity, and a taste test. Third, each site will use the provided materials and display them in a visible location. And lastly, your team agrees to participate in evaluation. Now we will go through each of these components in more detail using Montfortin School, which was one of our pilot sites, as an example. Each site has a team lead who will receive all communications and be responsible for completing the evaluation. In our example, it happens to be the food services director. At a minimum, the Harvest of the Month team includes an administrator, food service staff, and a teacher or educator. We highly encourage bringing in others to serve on the team to help implement the program, which could include producers, students, parents, community organizations, extension agents, SNAP Ed or FNAP educators, master gardeners, etc. Anyone listed as a team member will receive communications about Harvest of the Month. So if you need to add any new members of your team, please send me their name, title, or affiliation, and their email. We recommend regular check-ins or meetings with your team to coordinate efforts. Each site should serve the Harvest of the Month item in a meal or snack at least once during the designated month. The Harvest of the Month item could be an ingredient in a dish like this delicious local beef chili offered on a salad bar or as a side option, or even served as a snack. If your school has fresh fruit and vegetable snack program funding, this is a great way to meet your nutrition education requirements. We do provide cooking tips and food service recipes, but you are not required to use only recipes. If you find a recipe that you and your students love, please send it to us. If you are new to working with local farmers and businesses and don't know where to start, check out the Local Food Purchasing Guide for Montana Schools located in the Harvest of the Month portal or on the school food page of the Montana Farm to School website. This includes suggestions on how to find local vendors. Each month, participating schools must conduct at least one educational activity. This could be as simple as teachers reading the fun facts provided in the materials and discussing the foods in class, or it could be as involved as having all the students in the school painting with beets and helping to make and then taste test beet salad. It works best when a taste test accompanies a lesson so students learn about the food and taste it when they are most interested. Cooking projects are awesome, and recipes are included in the teacher handouts. To meet minimum requirements, each site needs to do one activity each month, which could be one activity in one classroom. Research shows that it can take children up to 20 times of trying a food before they will like it. Taste tests can decrease waste in the cafeteria and help to develop new recipes. The Harvest of the Month taste test should be conducted at least once each month and can be conducted either in the cafeteria or the classroom, or maybe somewhere else that makes sense for your school or program. The taste test guide is helpful for setting up your taste test. The taste test should use the Tried It, Liked It, Loved It system, which promotes polite behaviors. You will enter the Tried It, Liked It, Loved It numbers into the monthly reporting. There are many ways to conduct taste tests. You can use voting cups as shown here. You could also have a taste-off between two recipes and let the kids vote on which one will be featured in the upcoming meal or snack. Here's another example of how you can make a chart with stickers or tally marks to collect these votes. Sites should use the materials and display the posters in a visible location as well as use other signage to highlight the food and activities. This is a great way to connect what is happening in the cafeteria to educational activities happening in the classroom. We created menu templates in Microsoft Word that include fun facts and space for your site's information. This is a great place to promote the local producers or upcoming Harvest of the Month activities or events. Here are examples from our pilot of how to showcase the items and information on a menu and salad bar. As you can see, Montfortin School highlights the Harvest of the Month item in blue and then also features where the food came from at the top of their menu. The fourth requirement of the program is to participate in evaluation. As shown here, all participating schools and after-school programs will have 4 required evaluation components. The beginning of the year survey should be completed by the team lead before the program is implemented. This gives us a baseline of your program. The mid-year survey is completed by team leads in January and February and gathers information about how the program is going. The end-of-year survey should be completed by the team lead for each school or program site at the end of the year in either May or June 2017. The survey is essentially the beginning of the year survey, but requests information from the 2016 school year. We provide 2 tracking sheets to collect information throughout the year to make end-of-year reporting easier, because who can remember all the things that happened throughout the year? The tracking sheets are optional. Each month, each participating school or after-school program site should submit at least one taste test report. So let's take a look at the materials that the Harvest of the Month sites receive. Each registered school or after-school program receives a printed packet with the following for each month: the gorgeous posters, one of them is shown here, and 3 handouts, cafeteria, classroom, and home, that each feature fun facts, cooking information, recipes, activities, and more. The packet also includes one snazzy static clean that can be written on with dry erase markers and then used on salad bars or serving lines. The packet includes one of each of the posters. Posters can also be purchased from the MSU Extension store if you want more posters at your school, or if you're partnering with community businesses or organizations that also want to feature Harvest of the Month items. Electronic files for both the large and smaller sizes of the posters are available for registered sites to print independently if desired. In addition to the information that is on all the handouts, the Cafeteria Bites handout includes school food service recipes that have meal pattern crediting information. The Classroom Bites handout includes activities for elementary students and home-sized recipes that make enough for a class to sample. It also has a list of relevant children's books in the Book Nook section. The Harvest at Home handout is perfect for sending home to parents or including on a menu, your website, or a bulletin board. It has the same recipes as the teacher handout. Electronic versions of all the printed materials I just discussed are available online for registered sites. Harvest of the Month sites also have access to a slew of resources as shown here, including logos and illustrations, quick activity suggestions, after-school lessons, Harvest of the Month 101 handouts that are great for explaining the program to different audiences like producers, educational standards that are met with the lessons, guides for taste testing and cooking with kids, and a letter to meet, and a letter that can be edited and sent home or in a newsletter so parents can and community members know what to look for throughout the year. There are a few resources that are specifically for educators, including the monthly Classroom Bites handouts, after-school lessons, quick activities, handout with Common Core Next Generation Science Standards that are addressed by the Classroom Bites lessons, and guides for taste tests, cooking with kids, and creating your own cooking cart. The Getting Started and Monthly Checklists handout provides an easy-to-use reference to ensure that your site is on track throughout the year. Along with the checklists, we created a detailed implementation guide to provide guidance and ideas. And I'll let Demetrius talk about promoting the program.
Hello everyone, this is Demetrius Fassas with the National Center for Appropriate Technology in Butte. And I'm here today to talk about marketing and outreach. Generating excitement about the Harvest of the Month is one of the reasons that we produce these materials and the newsletter content that goes out. And there are many different ways that these materials can be and have been distributed in the sites thus far. I want to talk about a few of those. In terms of general promotion of Harvest of the Month as a program statewide, bringing the excitement outside of your team is critical to growing the Harvest of the Month program, both in your school and in your community. And there's a multitude of ways to do that. Montana Harvest of the Month has a hashtag that can be used on social media, hashtag MT Harvest of the Month. And if you were to go on social media and search that hashtag at any point, you can see a number of photos, articles, and stories about Harvest of the Month successes across the state. Speaking of sharing successes, MSU's Farm to School website also offers a place to share your photos and success stories, and that web link is on the monthly checklist as well. Other ways that we have heard of folks sharing the news about the Montana Harvest of the Month are on the morning announcements at school. If your high school has a newspaper or a broadcast team, you can provide them information to promote the Harvest of the Month items. Dedicating a space on a bulletin board at the school for the Harvest of the Month item, or hanging artwork from your students up in the cafeteria are all strategies that we have heard and have been received really well in schools. Now I want to talk about the materials specific to teachers and those materials that you are using in the classroom. Aside from hand delivering those to teachers each month or teachers getting a stack of materials for the year, there are a few different ways that we can get Harvest of the Month materials into the hands of your team and to other teachers in the school if that is of interest to them. Making copies of those classroom handouts and putting them into teachers' boxes provides a quick and easy way for all the educators at the school to have some information on the Harvest of the Month. And if they've got time to give a brief lesson from those handouts, it really helps tie in the experience of seeing these posters and sometimes eating in the lunchroom those harvest items. Sometimes schools are emailing digital copies of those materials out to their teams and to all the teachers in the school each month. The Harvest of the Month web portal provides a great place to download and be able to email that content out so that teachers can have it digitally. Also, it's possible that your school has monthly staff meetings, and Harvest of the Month could be subject of those staff meetings, and materials can be made available to educators while they are in attendance at a staff meeting. Getting materials home to parents and getting the word out about Harvest of the Month to parents is also another thing that we're curious about what you at your sites might be doing, and we've got a few ideas of how that can be done as well. Some schools distribute those materials to teachers first, who place them into the hands of the students, or the materials go into packets that go home with the students. Some schools actually have Facebook pages. Those are wonderful places to post digital content that all the parents can have access to, and email newsletters that go home to parents are another great way and the easy way to get those Harvest of the Month materials home to parents and really start creating the connections the connections in the home place that bring this promotion of our local food systems into our communities. So I have a question for you all. In regards to distributing materials to educators, I know some of you are teachers. I would like to take a moment to gather your ideas. So in the chat box on the right, please share with us how you distribute materials or information to your Harvest of the Month team or to other educators in the school. So you can take a moment to type that answer into the chat box on the right. All right. So again, it seems like the hand delivering of materials is pretty common. Using those digital copies would be something that I would definitely suggest that it's an easy way to get this content out to educators in the school. Now, we also have a question about distributing materials to parents. So similarly, how are you sharing information or materials with your students' parents? If you could please type that response into the chat box to the right.
I have 2 responses in the chat box. One was, we're in the 4 years with school and community growing gardens. I'm not enrolled in the program though.
And did you have a second one, Amy?
That was both of them from the same participant.
Got it. All right. Well, thank you, Demetrius, and thanks everyone for sharing. Feel free to type in the chat box how you share information with either other teachers, or parents at any time, and we'd love to learn from you as well. So I'm excited to welcome Michelle Kaney from Big Fork School District to share a few of her Harvest of the Month experiences. So take it away, Michelle.
Hi there. My name is Michelle Kaney, as she said. I teach 5th grade at Big Fork Elementary here in northwest Montana. I just started teaching 5th grade 2 years ago and teach science, which is so much fun because especially in the fall and the spring, we get to go out and spend time in our garden planting food and learning about nutrition and one of our big science standards in 5th grade, the food web. This first slide shows our school garden, which is fairly new to us. Only, I think we're on our 4th year, and it has just 10 tiny beds that are usually designated to a certain grade level, or like the home ec classroom. And we've tried in many ways to organize what we plant in it, and we've kind of fumbled and made mistakes with that. But in this last year, we finally figured out some things connected with the Harvest of the Month. We're really spoiled at our school. We have a food corps service member, Miss Maddie Halverson, and she comes in to support our garden, science, health, and nutrition lessons. And in our last year, she had a great idea, which kind of was an inspiration for a set of lessons that I'm going to share with you today. Next slide. A bit of a cough today, sorry. This next slide is our huge 5th grade bed that, as you can see, has some buckwheat growing in it. Last spring, when we were trying to decide what to plant in the garden, we had just finished a wonderful set of lessons on the Harvest of the Month grains. And we had brought in a bunch of grains, taste tested, looked at the different seeds, and looked at the grains from the plant structure. And so when we were deciding in the spring what we wanted to plant in our 5th grade garden, I really wanted to plant some kind of unique grain that would grow in our climate here. So buckwheat was what we came up with. Go ahead, next slide. And I don't have a lot of great pictures, but how the little process worked was we grew this little bed of buckwheat and then spent one day harvesting it, and then took the buckwheat back to the classroom, and we had it drying in a bunch of different paper bags around the classroom, and they dried for a couple weeks. And then this shows just a snippet of the day where we basically turned the whole entire classroom into kind of harvesting assembly line. Here a student is, you know, rubbing the plant between his hands to get the grains off. And then Maddie had a wonderful contraption set up. They had these electric fans with big Rubbermaid buckets that they were blowing all of the debris off to get the seeds as clean as possible and to separate the debris from the grains. And next slide. Oops, must have skipped one. I did have a slide that showed the little bits of grain that we were actually able to, I don't know if it's there, maybe not, that's okay. So the grains are really beautiful. They're actually these little triangular little grains, and so in the end in the time of a morning, we were able to get a pound of buckwheat flour. We ended up grinding it with a coffee grinder, and so the kids got to see firsthand in a time frame of a month how it went from our garden to the flour. And they were spoiled. We try to end every lesson with some kind of taste test. And here girls are taste testing some buckwheat soba noodles that I was lucky enough to attain straight from Japan. And then a week later, we took that buckwheat flour that we were able to make, and we made little mini buckwheat pancakes, which was fun, and topped it with some wonderful cherry jam from one of our local cherry orchards. So this was one lesson that I was kind of proud of with the grains, and it's been pretty easy. I use the USDA Dig In curriculum to kind of supplement some of the materials from the Harvest of the Month, and it does connect really well with a lot of our science and social studies standards. Teaching about the food web and transfer of energy within the food web is kind of a major concept for 5th grade. So we spend time when we're up in the garden digging to check to find decomposers and things like that too. And all, of course, talking about how food gives us energy from the nutrients. And connecting with social studies, we do a wonderful lesson talking about the farm-to-table process, how food goes from hand to hand with a little bit of money exchanging, of course, all the way along the line, from farmer to the food processing plants, to distributors, advertisers, and then how it finally gets to the store and to the consumer and onto our table. And that kind of, again, supports our social studies and economic standards. In things that we're proud of in our school, because of the Food Corps service member, we're able to do Harvest of the Month lessons in each classroom about twice a month. And our cafeteria director, the food service director, adds the Harvest of the Month items to the lunches. And I can really see that kids are a little more daring than I used to be, at least when I was younger, in trying new things and learning to not say they hate it, but at least try it and try to talk about it in a respectful way. The only piece in our program that I would like to beef up a little bit more is that connection to the local producers. We're kind of spoiled here in the valley around the lake. There's a lot of fruit and cherry orchards, so I'd like to connect the students to those people. This next month we will have a rancher from the area come in and speak to the kids, but I would like to make those connections even more prevalent. I think I spoke fast, which is very common for me, so I rambled a bit, but would be happy to answer questions if anybody has some.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle. If you have any questions for Michelle, you can jot them down to ask at the end, or you can type them into the chat box at any time, and we'll address all those questions at the very end. So next up, we have Jamie Diehl with Ennis Schools. Welcome, Jamie.
Thank you, Aubree, and hi, everyone. Again, I am Jamie Diehl, and I am the Family and Consumer Sciences, kind of the updated home ec, or FCS version, teacher in Ennis. Family and Consumer Sciences encompasses culinary arts and food sciences in middle and high schools across the state and across the country. In the past few years, FCS teachers here in Montana have been looking to incorporate more and more local food system content into their curriculum. If you have not connected with your FCS teacher in your area, I encourage you so much to do so. They're eager to connect with you. Another avenue to incorporate older students into your Harvest of the Month program is through the Career and Technical Student Organization, FCCLA. FCCLA stands for Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. Again, it used to be FHA, for those of you that were maybe aware of that in the past. And these members focus on building relationships in their community through service at the school and local level. These students are often looking to develop projects that involve younger students and could provide a great programming resource for your schools and classrooms in your communities. Next slide, please. In Ennis, we have turned to a different program, kind of a unique program, to sponsor our Harvest of the Month. The GROW program, which stands for Garden, Resources, Outdoors, Watersheds, and Wildlife, is a unique partnership directed by Nicole Bailey, the one using the Zucchini Bluetooth phone. You may have seen me with the Zucchini phone earlier in the slides. And it is funded by local nonprofits, but housed at the school, and it acts as our farm-to-school program. I serve in the capacity of her school supervisor. Next slide, please. So in the beginning of the year, Nicole and I sit down with a calendar and the Harvest of the Month schedule. We go through each month and choose a recipe, date and time for cooking, date for taste testing, and an elementary class and a middle or high school class to work with. We have found that this scheduling is the key to ensuring that we, A, don't forget about a month, which tends to happen, and B, have ample time to notify the school newsletter, update the hallway bulletin board, and send home materials and teach about the Harvest of the Month food. In the pictures, you can see elementary students from this year, the past couple of months here, preparing a variety of taste test items in my classroom. Next slide. Elementary students have come to understand that when they enter my classroom, we mean business. We are cooking for other people, and that means we need to protect the food from contamination. This culture has been actualized after a few years of constant reminders, but now students, both young and old, inform new students about how we always wash our hands, keep them away from our body, face, and clothes, avoid cooking when we are sick, and more importantly, refrain from eating while we are preparing food for our school community. Along the lines of food safety, we also spend time washing our produce that we have harvested from either our school garden or local producers and planning how we will safely serve over 300 students during our lunchtime taste tests. Next slide. Though it is my classroom, when the elementary students come in, they are paired with a middle or high school leader that guides them through the process. Oftentimes, it is these students that get the most out of the activity. The process varies depending on the Harvest of the Month, the recipe, or the size of class. There may be stations in which each group has a separate part of the recipe to execute, or separate groups making single batches of the recipe on their own, and sometimes we even have timed dancing rotations so that each student gets a chance to move and experience each step of the recipe. Regardless of the structure, I expect the older students to lead with confidence and responsibility, and they rarely disappoint, like Roth in this picture. Next slide. A consistent piece of each taste test preparation is the fact that the students that perform the best during the food prep get the opportunity to serve the taste test in the lunchroom. Originally, we tried to have the older students serve the food because they have the longest lunch period, but our participation rate was low. We instead awarded a group of elementary students with the role of servers, and all of a sudden, younger students, older students, and perhaps most significantly, the staff participated at a much higher rate. We've continued this model for the past couple of years with great success. We also encourage students to try our taste test by enticing with stamps or stickers of veggies, a little bribe to open their palates. During each taste test, we have tasters vote on whether they tried it, liked it, or loved it, and the results are then discussed with the student chefs afterwards. And this has truly integrated the program into the curriculum and school culture, and each month students look forward to what the next harvest will be and what, most importantly, maybe the next taste will be. Thank you guys so much, and if you, again, have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Jamie. What great pictures. So if you have any questions for Jamie or Michelle, you're welcome to type them into the chat box now, or you can wait till the end to ask over the phone. As you have seen, there are many opportunities for including Harvest of the Month in your classroom and engaging students. In Ronan, students helped serve beet salad to their peers, and they loved the opportunity and wanted to be more involved in the recipe selection and preparation process. And I'll turn it over to Demetrius to talk about connecting with producers.
Thank you, Aubree, and thanks so much, Jamie and Michelle. Those are fabulous stories, and it's great to hear how Harvest of the Month is being implemented elsewhere. So I want to talk a little bit about connecting with producers. My job here at NCAT is often working more with producers than educators, and so I bring this to you from the producers themselves, as many folks are looking for opportunities to engage with schools that are participating in Harvest of the Month. I've shared at multiple conferences at which producers were in attendance and heard time and time again lots of excitement about opportunities to connect with schools and connect with students. Lots of times around Montana, many of our students might come from families that are growers as well. And Harvest of the Month provides a unique opportunity for their families to actually engage with the school. And a few of the ideas that I have presented here are farm field trips. If you have a producer that's located near you, whether or not you're sourcing food from them, it's still a wonderful opportunity to connect with that producer and really bring home the harvest item by allowing kids an opportunity to see it produced from the ground up. When students have the opportunity to engage in this hands-on way with their food before or even after getting a chance to eat it, their response is wonderful. In addition to farm field trips, inviting a farmer to come into the classroom is also a really great way to engage with a producer and a nice way to have an exciting guest come teach a lesson about the harvest item. I already mentioned that sometimes parents are the growers themselves, and parents often look for opportunities to get involved in their schools. Producers can even come in and bring samples of their product and perform the taste test alongside students. And at some schools, there have been opportunities for producers to come in and actually eat lunch with the kids and being able to share their story as they sit at the table with students. Next slide. This is just a picture of a couple of producers in Ennis that are sharing about their beef cattle production during Beef Month, which is March coming up. I would encourage anyone that's currently using the Harvest of the Month, reach out to your local beef producers. They are in abundance around the state, and oftentimes they're really excited to get the opportunity to share about what they do with students in the classroom. Next slide. So how else can we use these products? Not only do the foods that are involved in Harvest of the Month get to be nutritious, but they also get to be great learning opportunities. And Jamie and Michelle both shared about some of the cooking classes that they have done and opportunities for students to not only learn about that food and how it's grown, but maybe learn about plant parts, incorporate a science lesson into using that harvest item. Harvest of the Month also provides great opportunities maybe for older students to explain seasonality and talk about local agriculture. Really the possibilities for integrating food into lessons, it opens up a lot of room for creativity, that's for sure. Next slide. For those of you that are interested in engaging with producers, NCAT hosts a map of producers around the state that are engaged in local procurement, and the web link to that map can be seen on this slide. We also keep a map of the institutions that are involved in local purchasing, and that map includes the Harvest of the Month sites. So checking out both of these two maps is a good way to see what producers are around you that you can reach out to, as well as finding other programs around you that might also be involved in Harvest of the Month. Sometimes purchasing these food items can be done much more cost effectively if Harvest of the Month sites are able to team up for cooperative purchasing and get discounts on larger orders. And with that, I will turn it back over to Aubree.
Thanks so much, Demetrius. So I hope you all have gained plenty of ideas, I know I have, for how to integrate Harvest of the Month into classrooms and the entire school. But you might be wondering, what should be your next step following the webinar? First, I would recommend recruiting your team members if you don't already have a Harvest of the Month team. Share the videos, webinars, Harvest of the Month one-on-one handouts, or other resources to recruit team members so they know what the program is all about. Second, register online. Next, hold a meeting with your team and make a plan. Add event, meal, or other important dates, like when to make copies of and share the materials, to your own calendar. And go. Don't forget to share photos. And as Demetrius mentioned earlier, we'd love for you to use the social media hashtag #MTHarvestOfTheMonth. We will continue to provide in-person and online training opportunities. We are seeking teachers to join Harvest of the Month Teacher Advisory Committee to provide input into the Harvest of the Month program materials and trainings. Anyone interested in joining should contact me via email. In March, we are offering in-person Harvest of the Month trainings in Great Falls and Missoula. These are specifically for school food service personnel, but all are welcome to attend, and we encourage you to do so. It'll be really fun and tasty. The registration is currently open, and that link is on the slide here. If your team has specific training needs, please let us know. We'd be happy to develop a webinar on a specific Harvest of the Month topic if you think that would be helpful. So thank you so much for your time today. We're excited to work with you and look forward to learning from you as well as your students. We'll now answer questions. So you can enter them into the webinar chat box on the right, or you can ask them over the phone. And I think Rachel might have some more instructions on that.
I just unmuted everyone, so again, if you want your phone to be muted, you can do so on the phone itself or in the WebEx control panel, but otherwise you all can speak now. Questions?
I have a question about, this is Taylor Lyon in Havre.
Great, go ahead, Taylor.
I have a question about food procurement laws and food safety.
Mm-hmm.
Most of our local food, such as say beets, for example, would be provided by local Hutterite colonies. Is there a certain, do we have to go through a registered food provider or distributor, or can we purchase from a colony?
You can absolutely purchase from a colony. So there, of course, are food safety best practices as well as regulations that they have to follow. But as long as they're following those, you could absolutely purchase through them. Montana does have a wholesale produce license, and so many of the producers who have been selling wholesale are already aware of that. I don't know if the colonies have been using that license as much, but you might just want to ask them about that. The school food page on the Montana Farm to School website, which is the second link shown on this slide, does go through each of the regulations it breaks it down by produce and meat and grains and things like that. So you can see specifically what are those regulations and best practices.
Thank you.
You bet. Any other questions?
This is Bernie Mason in Billings.
Hi, Bernie. How are you? Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, and mine is not a question, but more of a comment. And I know I'd let Katie know, and that what I am doing with it to promote it more for everyone is to feature the product of the month, whatever that food is of the month, in my recipe column that I do on a weekly basis in the Billings Gazette. And so a week ago, I did do the beets, and then I didn't use the recipes that were from the materials this time, but I did do a couple of other recipes that people may want to look at and try. So anyone that wants to could go into that and check that out. But I do try to, promote looking at Montana producers as well as giving them the recipes. One other comment that I would make is I have mentioned this to some extension agent, family and consumer science, people that I visit with, and none of them seem to be aware of this program. And so I think that is someplace to try to connect with them to make sure they can use this program.
Great. Thank you, Bernie, for those comments. And for all of you, I would definitely recommend you check out Bernie's recipes. They have been super amazing. So thank you for sharing that with the Billings Gazette. Definitely, I recommend people to check that out. Also, it's a great way, a great example of how you can promote Harvest of the Month and what you're doing in your schools within the larger community. I know Plevna schools, each month their local newspaper features a picture of what they're doing with Harvest of the Month. So it's just another great way of connecting those dots within the community and school. So thank you, Bernie. Any other questions? Well, I have a question for our for Jamie and Michelle. I just wanted to see if each of you could give one of your goals for how you want to expand or improve your program in the future.
I'll go first then, James. I kind of mentioned, but I really want to connect even more with the local producers. Does it sound okay?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So we're spoiled and in having some fruit, the cherry orchards especially. Kind of tricky just because of seasonality. The cherries harvest in the summer, but we're going to try to connect with them in the fall and that's my biggest thing, is to just try to connect more with the producers.
Awesome. Thanks, Michelle. And Jamie?
Yeah, in Ennis, we're really excited. This last year, we have had a couple months where Harvest of the Month items have made it into the lunchroom line. And so we're hoping to continue with that and expand it to hopefully maybe every month having an option. And we're going in a positive direction for that. So.
Awesome. Well, great work. Did I hear someone try to ask a question before? Okay. And I just want to check, Rachel, do you have any questions that have come through the chat box on your end?
No, I don't.
Okay. Great. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, then that is all we have for today. So thank you, everyone, for joining us, and thanks for your great comments and questions. These slides, as well as the recorded webinar, will be available on the RHI site as shown, as well as the Harvest of the Month website within the next few weeks. Don't hesitate to contact me if you have any questions following the webinar. Glad to hear from you. And then please take the short survey that will follow the webinar. Have a wonderful day, and thank you so much, Rachel, for hosting us.
Thank you so much to all the presenters.